What's up, everybody? It's Young here with a Metal Gear Solid 5 news update. The following information comes from the 13th episode of a Spanish game news show called The Atomix Show, which you can find on a YouTube channel called Atomix VG. One of the hosts was Miguel Asher, an attendee of the MGS5 preview event, and he provided a number of new details about the Phantom Pain based on the 16 hours that he played. In this video, I'll provide a summary of the new information he had to share. Now, if you speak Spanish, I do recommend you check out the full video. Miguel had nothing but compliments for the game, calling it the best game Konami has ever released. He said that, long story short, the game is awesome, and that just based on the 16 hours he played, the game is easily a contender for Game of the Year, with the only other real contender in his opinion being Bloodborne. He also said the game's enormous and dynamic open world makes the latest Assassin's Creed games look like the poor man's open world game, and that unlike the Assassin's Creed games, Phantom Pain has heart. His words, not mine. Like everyone else, he can't say too much until June 9th, but he did vaguely talk about certain gameplay elements, starting with the mission structure. Like other media outlets have mentioned, missions, whether they be main missions or side ops, can be tackled in any order. Furthermore, you can do as many of them as you like without going back to base. Miguel stated that if he wanted, he could do 7 missions straight without once stepping into Mother Base. Now, what's interesting is that being away from Mother Base for too long can have a negative effect on soldiers' morale. Apparently, the soldiers need to see their boss from time to stay motivated. Unfortunately, Miguel didn't go into specifics, so it's hard to say how low morale will affect Mother Base and its staff, but my assumption is that it'll work similarly to Peace Walker. Now, in Peace Walker, morale mainly revolved around the amount of food that you could put on the table. Players had to maintain at least a 100% food percentage to maintain MSF's morale. Going beyond 100% meant increased morale, and in turn increased soldier stats. And going below 100% meant decreased morale, and in turn decreased soldier stats. Phantom Pain no longer features the food percentage or the mess hall unit, but we at least now know that there is some kind of morale system, and part of it has to do with how often Diamond Dogs gets a visit from their boss. Miguel also talked a bit about the gameplay to cutscenes ratio in Phantom Pain. Unlike past games, which to him felt like he was playing a movie, players should no longer expect the mission cutscene structure of old. That doesn't mean the game won't have its fair share of cutscenes, and he says there is an awesome story to be found, but most of the player's time will be spent in gameplay. Many argue that MGS4's cutscenes interrupted gameplay far too often, but that doesn't seem to be the case with MGS5, which I think many fans will be pleased with. On a more general note, he noted that players can expect to see some very bizarre things throughout the game, stating that players won't believe some of the stuff they see. He also talked a bit about the soundtrack, claiming that it's nothing short of incredible. I believe his exact words were, "Get ready to shit your pants," and he also reaffirmed that the stuff you've heard in Ground Zeroes and in the latest trailers is only the tip of the iceberg. Another topic of discussion was Mother Base. Miguel was particularly entranced with how far out of the way the game goes to truly make players feel like they're the ultimate badass and the big boss. The players actually feel the weight of Big Boss's responsibilities and the amount of influence he has, and they in turn feel the full weight of both the successes and failures. It truly feels like everything revolves around Snake, and as though his actions, and in turn the players' actions, make a difference. This notion of making the player feel like the boss particularly comes across in Mother Base. One of the coolest things about coming back to base is that as soon as you come back, soldiers will line up and provide you with a proper salute and greeting, including Kaz and Ocelot. Something cool he mentioned is that as he was walking around Mother Base heading to the shower, Ocelot and Kaz followed Snake around, one on each side, to advise him on some of the things that need to get done, like building or developing something for Mother Base or what have you. The imagery that this evokes in my mind is 2 secretaries or advisors accompanying the president on a busy day, keeping him up to date on the latest to-dos or advising him on certain courses of action, which once again goes in line with what Miguel said about the game making the players truly feel like they are the boss. Kaz and Ocelot will not only advise players, they will also automatically distribute soldiers at Snake Fultons in the field. They do a pretty good job at it, according to Miguel, but if players want to go ahead and rearrange their soldiers to their own custom specifications, they can. Recruits will not only line up when Big Boss comes home, they will also interact with him. For example, Miguel encountered an occasion in which one of the recruits asked Snake to train with him, so in response, he grabbed the recruit in a CQC hold and then threw him to the ground. The soldier quickly got back up into his soldier stance and saluted Snake with a "Thank you, boss." Kojima did say before that players can train with their recruits to increase their stats, so it seems as though Miguel had a small glimpse of that. Another topic of discussion was R&D. From what Miguel saw, every weapon can be enhanced or improved in some way. The Fulton recovery system, for example, starts out with the ability to lift basic things like soldiers, but they can later be upgraded to lift heavier objects. He also hinted that there are certain items, gear, or weapons that can only be unlocked by recruiting the right kind of staff and not just by getting a certain unit to a specific level. As an example, Miguel talked about a Tranquilizer sniper rifle that he developed. Not only did he have to get his medical unit to level 15, he also had to recruit an anesthesiologist to finally unlock the weapon. There was also a bit of talk about how players will be tackling missions. Unlike in past games where there was a clear and scripted start, middle, and end to all missions, all Phantom Pain does is provide a target objective. The infiltration, extraction, and everything in between is completely at the discretion of the player, allowing them to get away with things they normally wouldn't be able to get away with. For example, something cool that Miguel did was study the pattern of soldier shifts to aid in his infiltration. After learning the time frame in which soldiers changed shifts, he took advantage of this time frame to go around the back and stealthily make his way to the objective. It's pretty cool how creative players can get with Phantom Pain. Miguel also talked about how well the game flows and how natural and intuitive everything feels. For example, there came a point in Miguel's gameplay session in which he thought that the horse he was riding on was too slow. So what he did was he Fultoned the horse back to base, pulled up his iDroid and requested a vehicle drop 300 meters in front of Snake towards the objective. Then he broke into a sprint and managed to time it perfectly so that Snake would arrive at the landing point of the vehicle drop-off as soon as the vehicle was delivered, allowing him to get on the vehicle mid-sprint in one fluid motion and make his way to his objective at high speeds. And that's just something he came up with. The game didn't advise him on that. It's this kind of fluidity and natural logic that can be applied during gameplay that impressed Miguel most. He also had high praise to give to the controls and how natural they feel once players get acquainted with them. One thing he did confirm is that players can use one-handed weapons while leaning to the side of the horse, allowing for some very cool-looking kills or takedowns. One last topic that was discussed is Kiefer's performance as Big Boss. Miguel stated that so far he doesn't talk all that much, but from what he has heard, his opinion is that when you listen to Kiefer's performance, you hear a soldier, whereas David's performance from past games sound a little fake in comparison. Again, his words, not mine. Alright folks, so there you have it, every new detail provided by Miguel Asher through the Atomix Show. Thank you for tuning in. To be further updated on Metal Gear Solid 5, stay tuned on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.